Hi and welcome to The Practice Gap, the podcast for closing the gap between the practice you have and the one that you want. I'm Elisabeth, a chiropractor, a business owner, coach and entrepreneur, on a mission to help you move from frustration and overwhelm to clarity, focus and joy in practice. Hi, Tone Tellefsen. I'm so happy you are here to visit all the way from England.
Good morning.
Welcome. Tone is a dear friend and a colleague. And I would love if you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for inviting me to come here today. Yes, I'm a slight oxymoron, I guess, because I'm actually Norwegian and I'm sitting being interviewed with you here in Oslo. But I was born in the States by Norwegian parents. And then when I was 4, my parents moved to Stockholm. So I was brought up in Sweden. So I generally say I'm Swedish. And then I went to England to do my chiropractic degree for 4 years. Met my now husband there. Had a couple of years back in Stockholm in between. And then I've been in England since 93. I am a chiropractor who worked for a long time as an associate. And then I started my practice 15 years ago. I have specialized and had a particular interest in pediatrics and pregnancy. So I spent about 15 years teaching that to other chiropractors, undergraduate, postgraduate. Done a couple of years of coaching other chiropractors how to promote themselves better. I run my own practice called Lux Yard Clinic in Surrey, in south of London. My work is now working with patients of all ages, but I also am part of starting a charity called the Green Hub Project for Teens. And it's a horticultural well-being project where we help teenagers who struggle with stress, overwhelm, social anxiety to come and do gardening in a very secluded and secret garden, and over a period of 12 weeks. And it's become a big part of my life over the last 3 years, really. So that's sort of me in a nutshell.
That's wonderful. I know that you have a special interest in helping new practitioners kind of make it. I know you've done some coaching and you've had a lot of associates in your clinic. Could you tell us today your favorite tips to new chiropractors or new associates who are just starting out? How do you become a great chiropractor?
Yeah, well, I think that one of the first things to think about is that when you are studying, use that time to shadow as many chiropractors as you can and really go and look at all types of clinics so you can see clinics working in different ways. So you get an idea of what perhaps your affinity, what you feel like where you might belong, what you feel like might work for you. So do that. And then when you graduate, I think it's really important to think about who you go and work with. Your first job is really important because that could be the make or break of whether you actually carry on as a chiropractor or not. At the moment, around the world, it's very hard to get associates for some reason. There's more jobs than associates, which means obviously there's a great need. But I would really urge caution to a new graduate to really think about where they're going. And it's very easy to go to a shiny prospect. And that what I mean with that is that a clinic where maybe they have several clinics and they're able to offer you lots of packages. They may pay for your insurance, they may pay for graduate scheme and so on and so forth. And that's all great, but I would actually say that it's more important that you go and interview the clinics and if they're right for you. Also, if you're going to be right for them, I would actually consider who you start working with if they're going to be the right mentor for you.
So if I'm a new practitioner, I'm just out of school, I've gotten some shiny offers, what are the questions that I, as a new chiropractor, young aspiring with lots of potential, should ask the people that I would like to work, or if I'm looking to find a place to work, what are the questions I should ask?
I would say, how are we going to work together? How are you going to mentor me? And ironically, I would actually go and shadow all the other practitioners in the practice and actually speak with them, talk to them. What is it like to work in this practice? How are you supported? How do you feel that the principal is going to is supporting you. Because if you then speak to the colleagues, so you get an idea of the culture, the values of that practice. And I would spend time with the principal as well. Shadow the clinic that you want to work in and see, is this the vibe of a clinic where I want to work? Does this sit with me? Don't just go, I need to have this job because it's going to give me money. Obviously, that's really, really important. But I've spent so much time with new grads who've got a shiny, shiny job. And then the values have been really conflicting to what actually the new graduate wants to do in chiropractic practice. And then they get cross with the principal. Well, they don't need to get cross with them. They just haven't had the same values. So I would definitely say, how we're going to work together. But on the other hand, from a principal point of view, you also need to, as a new grads, you have to work hard. It's not just, if we turn it around, yes, it's important to find the mentor. And for me, that's really, really important. But then once you find the right mentor, you have to work. You are never, ever going to get busy, successful in practice by just sitting there and rolling your thumbs. You have to do the work.
What is the biggest difference on starting out as a new practitioner today versus 15 years ago? Do you see, what are the biggest differences you see?
30 years ago, going even further back, we didn't ask anything of our bosses, really. It was up to us to pay all our insurances and graduate schemes and pensions and whatever. And then it was up to us to work hard. And many of us would work in several practices. We would drive miles. Now the new graduates are a different generation, where perhaps have been brought up slightly differently, and they expect more. And I just have to say that I just think that new graduates need to just build resilience. You have to be prepared to work. You have to be prepared to put the work in. And that means that if you are working and you don't have many patients, you spend that time when you don't have patients thinking, how can I get out of my community and get connected?
What are some suggestions? Like, I'm just graduated, I have lots of potential, I have very, very few patients, I don't know where to start. What are some suggestions that I could do?
So you can think about your marketing of inside marketing in the practice, outside the clinic, on the outside wall, and in the community. So inside the practice, I would say, get going with writing blogs, because every time you write something, you have something also to talk to your patients about. Sit down and think about, okay, just give a whole theme and just help yourself. Think that your patient list is yours. And just think of it as if you're opening up your own practice. Because if you're opening up your practice, you have to do the same thing. But if you're just relying on the principal or the success of the clinic to give you patients, it's not going to take you very far. It's much better that you earn the patients. So start writing blogs. If you don't like writing blogs, do video blogs. But if you've written a blog, that can become an Instagram post, a video blog. It can go onto LinkedIn, whatever.
This just to make a little commercial for my podcast with Andrea. He's actually talking about exactly the same thing. He's talking about content marketing, and he calls it tripling down. So if you want to go back to episode 3 and hear more about that, you are quite welcome to.
Yeah, and I think find your media. So some people are extremely good at Instagram. Some people are really good at videos. And there's a fantastic chiropractor in London who she doesn't like talking. So she does silent videos with sort of like information text.
What's her name? Do you remember?
Ami Said. I can send you her link. But she's really inspirational, and she does the work, and she has a 6-week waiting list. Yeah. So there is a link between the work she's puts down and the output. When you do that work, you show that you have knowledge and skill. So start by writing down blogs. What do you write about? Well, have a block next to your desk, and what you talk about with your patients every day, that's what you got to write about. And you can make that, from a blog, you can make that into several Instagram posts that can go to Facebook, or if you're into TikTok, it just find your medium where you're comfortable. But that's inside the clinic, and then inside the clinic you have posters and so on and so forth. But I really believe that you need to start looking at who can you be in the community. And this is something where it's different from Sweden to and Norway to England, because in England we have much more community-based activities. But I think you can create that wherever you are. You know, don't think about the culture, just go against it. So if you have, you know, if you're a new graduate and you really want to do more sports, well, just get in contact with the sports clubs and do work there. Go out there and do stretches with them. Get involved. Show up every week. Show up. Give them tips. Give them, you know, and decide what funnel you're going to do that with. And just be there. Give service. And then you will be the person of trust that they will think of, even if it's for something else, because you're showing up. And if it's people over 60 or 70, then, you know, see if you can get involved in elder centers or activity day centers or something. Obviously, Elisabeth, you're pediatrics and pregnancy. Within that field, you know, go and talk to the new baby groups or the parental groups and offer your time for free and think of it as a service. And then when you do that regularly, people know, well, he is that chiropractor who does this, and therefore I trust them. Yeah, so you become a trusted source of health information. We do right.
Yeah, that's some really concrete and really good advice there. How many years do you think, if you put in a fair amount of work and work real hard and focus, how many years do you think it takes to build an okay practice? I know when I started out, it was the rule was it takes 5 years to build a practice. And on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, our colleague Atle Orre, who teaches techniques, he says it takes about 7 years to become a really good adjuster. What are your thoughts on to get out to the community, to be known, to be there?
Yeah, I would say I would agree with, 5 to 7 years. And I think there is so much marketing prospects out there, and we all get contacted by marketing experts and, get so many new patients and so many new patients. And that's a very short way of trying to build a practice, because actually if you have the way to know whether you have a practice that works is whether you take away all social media and the patients come to you anyway, because word of mouth is the most powerful thing that you can ever work with. And most of us who are over than 20 years and before the internet, that's how we work. And once it is a snowball effect. So the more people you work with well, and you look after them well, and you look after the family, the more people are going to tell others about you. And eventually there will be a snowball effect where you will have enough people who talk about you as someone who can help them, that can make a difference in their lives. So there's no shortcut. There's no fast way. I know a practice recently where they, their social media and their very intense marketing was taken away, and suddenly all the new patients dropped. So is that a kind of practice you want to have, or do you want to actually have a practice with people who I have patients who I have treated in 3 clinics over nearly 30 years who followed me for that period of time, and I know 3 generations of their family. Is that kind of practice you want to have? Then that takes time, but it's worth it. It's value. If you want to have fast clinic, and then that's another way, but that's not where I'm interested in personally. So,
and it's much more rewarding also to have a word of mouth practice, and also have the generations and the people who come back to you year after year with family.
It's incomparable. And I think when I have new associates shadowing me, and I can say, I've treated 3 generations of this family, or this person, I did a baby check and they're now 17. They can see that value of how much that means, because there's a trust there. It's a secret bond that we must really value. And I think if you value that secret bond, and your life as a chiropractor is being of service, then that will shine through authentically, that you really care, and you will go out of your way. I went to a patient's funeral before lockdown, and I'd been looking after him for 2 years, and I'd looked after his family now for 25 years. And I was mentioned in the memorandum of his life. I thought, when I came into his life and I worked with him, and I sat there, I thought, oh my goodness, this is just the most amazing honor to be mentioned like that. But it is so much deeper when you have that connection with your patients, and it makes it more rewarding when you come to work. So that's my recommendation. Really search for the right mentor, someone that you're going to feel comfortable with, who cares about you as a chiropractor, someone who's going to help you to shine, in your way, and then do the work, go to courses, and then talk to your principle and say, what can I do? How can I help myself to get busy, and then do the work? Your associate is going to love you if you pitch in, if you help out, if you do the work, then they're going to help you. It's a work in return. And if you get yourself known, one of the best advice, it wasn't advice, one of the best something that someone said to me was that go and see the Luxio clinic because they will tell you if they can't help you, right? The under meaning with that is that I trust them, that they will help me if they can, but they will tell me if they can't. That's a kind of reputation that I would like to have from my practice, that of trust, rather than, that practice, they just want to get squeeze as many appointments out of you as possible. They don't really care about if you're getting better or not. There's a very opposite way of working, and I would rather have the other. Yes. And that's, that it's up to you what you're looking for. But if you want to be chiropractor really is patient-centered, then you need to be in service.
So to round up, you need to interview the person you want to work with.
Yeah.
And then do the work. It takes to build your own practice, you have to think that this is your practice. It's the same amount of work to goes into building your practice as an associate as it is to building your own clinic. And use the possibilities in the clinic, writing blogs, being visible on Instagram or making videos. And then also go out to the community, and you can do that in Norway and Sweden also. They have communities, and find your interest group and just give of yourself and give value and put in the work. It takes about 5 to 7 years to have a wonderful practice, but it's totally worth it.
And I think if I just add to that, because you made me reflect now, so don't blame other people for your failures. So if you have trouble working, look at yourself and most importantly, get a coach. And it might be you have several coaches in your practice life. You might need a coach at one point who works in one way or another way. But get support, get help, and or have a mentor, because really your practice is a reflection of you. If you're in the wrong place, leave. Go and find a place where they share your values. If you are not working well, it might be that you're in the wrong place for you. But it's up to you. It's a reflection of you.
To round up, failures are never failures, they are learning opportunities.
Absolutely. And the way I look at it is that, before I started my own practice, I worked for, several practices in Sweden and several practices in England. And that was a fantastic experience to learn as much as I could from all those chiropractors and see what it was that worked for me, that wouldn't work for me, or how I wanted to work. It's something I would really recommend. Don't go and start your practice straight away, but really go and learn. Give someone a chance, but if it's a clash between you and the boss or the way they work, be honest with yourself. This might not be how I want to work, and then go and find other practices where you feel that you belong.
Thank you so much, Tone. It's been wonderful to have you here, and next week I'm going to have you back next week or at least for another episode, and then we are going to talk about the topic when you realize you are in the wrong place, what you do. And also the next episode is also special for people who runs a clinic and realize that person they are working with might not be a good match for the clinic. And then I'll see you in the next episode.
See you next time.